In this sequel to the videos on Islam and prophecy, the biblical prediction and description of the rise and spread of Islam are deeply explained using the symbols employed in the Bible. In Revelation chapters 8 and 9, the Bible uses imagery and symbols to explain the future role of Islam in world history, subsequent to the barbarian invasions and disintegration of the Roman Empire. These predictions were all accurately and perfectly fulfilled. In this video, we show how the fall of the Roman Empire and the rise and spread of Islam were perfectly prophesied and historically fulfilled. The 7 trumpets in Revelation chapters 8 and 9 are among the most enigmatic and symbol-laden prophecies in the Bible. Many historicist interpreters, including Uriah Smith, have viewed these trumpets as depicting significant historical events, particularly the decline of the Roman Empire and the rise and spread of Islam. In this detailed exploration, we will delve deeply into the symbolic meaning of each trumpet and how it relates to historical events such as the barbarian invasions, the fall of Rome, and the rise of Islamic power. The trumpets are seen as judgments against the Roman Empire and later entities that opposed God's people. They also represent the unfolding of God's plan through historical events leading toward the ultimate establishment of His kingdom. Overview of the 7 trumpets. In Revelation chapters 8 and 9, the Apostle John describes a series of 7 angels sounding trumpets, each heralding significant events affecting the earth. The 7 trumpets are part of a larger prophetic sequence in the book of Revelation that deals with judgments upon the earth. These judgments are often seen as symbolic of the catastrophic events that have shaped human history. Each trumpet blast signals a major event or period, many of which were critical in the downfall of the Roman Empire and the subsequent rise of Islam. Here's a summary of the 7 trumpets as presented in Revelation chapters 8 and 9. First trumpet, hail and fire mixed with blood are thrown to the earth, burning a third of the trees and all the green grass. Second trumpet, a great mountain burning with fire is thrown into the sea, and a third of the sea turns to blood. Third trumpet, a great star named wormwood falls from heaven, poisoning a third of the rivers and springs of water. Fourth trumpet, a third of the sun, moon, and stars are struck, darkening them. Fifth trumpet, a star falls from heaven and opens the bottomless pit, releasing a horde of locusts to torment humanity. Sixth trumpet, 4 angels bound at the Euphrates River are released, leading a vast army to kill a third of mankind. Seventh trumpet, the kingdom of God is proclaimed as the ultimate outcome, signaling the final triumph of God's kingdom. The first 4 trumpets, the fall of the Western Roman Empire. The first 4 trumpets have traditionally been interpreted as symbolizing the various barbarian invasions that led to the collapse of the Western Roman Empire, marking the transition between ancient and medieval Europe. These invasions contributed to the fragmentation of Western Rome, setting the stage for subsequent events symbolized by the remaining trumpets. It is worthy to note that the Roman Empire then covered most of the then known world. Hence, a third of the world was governed by this empire, which explains why all the first 4 trumpets affected a third of everything it plagued. First trumpet, the Visigothic invasion, Revelation 8 verse 7. The first angel sounded, and hail and fire followed, mingled with blood, and they were thrown to the earth. And a third of the trees were burned up, and all green grass was burned up. Revelation 8 verse 7. What does the symbolism mean? Hail and fire mixed with blood. The hail and fire symbolize the fierce and destructive nature of the invasion. The blood represents the violence and loss of life that accompanied these raids. Trees and green grass burned. The destruction of a third of the trees and grass symbolizes the ruin brought to the Roman Empire's infrastructure and resources, particularly its agricultural and urban areas. The Roman Empire then covered a third of the population and land size of the then known world, from Europe to Asia and North Africa. Hence, a third of the trees here shows that the regions and populations covered by the Roman Empire were affected. How did this prophecy happen historically? Visigothic invasion. This trumpet is seen to represent the invasion of the Visigoths, a barbarian tribe that sacked Rome in AD 410 under Alaric I. This event marked the first time in nearly 800 years that Rome had fallen to a foreign invader, symbolizing the beginning of the end for the Western Roman Empire. Destruction. Alaric's forces ravaged the Italian peninsula, destroying farmlands, cities, and Roman military forces. Second trumpet, the Vandalic invasion. Then the second angel sounded, and something like a great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea, and a third of the sea became blood. A third of the living creatures in the sea died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. Revelation 8, verse 8 to 9. What does the symbolism mean? A great mountain burning with fire. Mountains in biblical prophecy often symbolize kingdoms or empires. The burning mountain represents the destructive force of the Vandals. Sea became blood, ships destroyed. Sea represents large populations, as seen in Revelation 17:15. Hence, the sea becoming blood represents the violence and death that followed their naval invasions. The destruction of ships symbolizes the collapse of Roman naval dominance and the disruption of trade routes. As explained above, the Roman Empire then covered a third of the globe and world population. Hence, a third of the sea creatures dying means a third of the global population in regions, Europe, Asia, and North Africa, were affected. How did this prophecy happen historically? Vandalic invasion. This trumpet corresponds to the invasions of the Vandals, led by Genseric, who ravaged the coasts of the Mediterranean and sacked Rome in AD 455. The Vandals were notorious for their naval raids, attacking Roman territories from North Africa and severely weakening Roman control over the Mediterranean Sea. Destruction of Roman fleet. Genseric's fleets dominated the Mediterranean, which was vital for Roman trade and defense, and his destruction of Roman fleets dealt a devastating blow to the empire's power. Third trumpet, the Hunnic invasion. Then the third angel sounded, and a great star fell from heaven, burning like a torch, and it fell on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water. The name of the star is wormwood. A third of the waters became wormwood, and many men died from the water, because it was made bitter. Revelation, August 10th, 11. What does the symbolism mean? A great star falling from heaven. The falling star represents a leader or power that dramatically impacts the world. The star is symbolic of Attila the Hun. Wormwood, a plant known for its bitterness, symbolizing the bitterness and suffering that Attila and the Huns brought to the people of the Roman Empire. Rivers and springs of water. This is symbolic of the plagues in Egypt, in which their waters and rivers turned into blood. The rivers and waters may represent the source of livelihood of the people that were devastated by the Hunnic invasions. This made their life bitter and unbearable. Affecting a third of the globe's waters represents the geographical and population reach of the Roman Empire, as explained previously above. How did this prophecy happen historically? Attila the Hun fulfilled this prophecy. Attila, known as the Scourge of God, led the Huns in a series of devastating raids across the Roman Empire between AD 434-453. His campaigns primarily targeted the regions of the Danube and Rhine rivers, areas of vital importance to the Roman economy. Devastation. The bitter waters refer to the destruction and suffering inflicted upon the Roman populace. Attila's invasions led to widespread famine, death, and despair, characterized as wormwood. Fourth trumpet, the fall of the Western Roman Empire. Then the fourth angel sounded, and a third of the sun was struck, a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, so that a third of them were darkened. A third of the day did not shine, and likewise the night. Revelation 8, verse 12. What does the symbolism mean? Sun, moon, and stars. The celestial bodies symbolize the government and leadership of the Roman Empire. The darkening of a third of the sun, moon, and stars represents the collapse of the Roman political structure. Notice that from the first to the fourth trumpet, the effect was always on the third of the globe, meaning that these four trumpets were all affecting the Roman Empire that reached a third of the globe's population during the then-known world. What about the darkening? The darkening indicates the chaos, confusion, and decline that occurred as the Western Roman Empire fell apart. The Roman Empire had led the world, a third part of the then-known world, for almost a millennium. Hence, their decline brought darkness on those regions of the world. How did this prophecy happen historically? The fall of Rome, AD 476. The final collapse of the Western Roman Empire came when the last Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was deposed by the barbarian leader Odoacer in AD 476. This event is often seen as marking the end of the Roman Empire in the West, political chaos. The fall of Rome plunged Europe into the Dark Ages, a period marked by the fragmentation of political power, widespread violence, and the decline of classical knowledge and learning. It also marked the rise of the Roman Church and papal power to take over the ruins of the Roman Empire and establish the Holy Roman Empire under the Pope. The fifth and sixth trumpets shift the focus to the rise of Islam and its spread through the Middle East, North Africa, and parts of Europe after the decline of the Roman Empire. Indeed, the rise and spread of Islam would not have been possible without the power vacuum left by the disintegrating Roman Empire. Had the Roman Empire been at its zenith, Islam would have been checked and pushed back into Arabia. While Christianity rose and spread at the apogee of the Roman power, Islam came after the Roman Empire was at its lowest ebb. These trumpets are often seen as representing the Islamic conquests that followed the decline of the Roman Empire in the West. Fifth trumpet, the rise of Islam. Revelation 9, 1-12. Then the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fallen from heaven to the earth. To him was given the key to the bottomless pit, and he opened the bottomless pit, and smoke arose out of the pit like the smoke of a great furnace. So the sun and the air were darkened because of the smoke of the pit. Then, out of the smoke, locusts came upon the earth. Revelation 9, 1-3. What does the symbolism mean? Star fallen from heaven. This is interpreted as the rise of a new and powerful leader. Historicists associate this with Prophet Muhammad, the founder of Islam, who emerged as a religious and political leader in the 7th century. Bottomless pit symbolizes a desolate place, often interpreted as the Arabian Peninsula and desert from which Islam emerged. The vastness and emptiness of the Arabian desert rightly fit this description. Locusts often symbolize swarms or invading armies. In this case, the locusts represent the swift and devastating Arab armies that spread Islam through military conquest. The torment for 5 months, in prophetic terms, 5 months, or 150 days, represents 150 years, which historicists see as the period of the early Islamic conquests. How did this prophecy happen historically? The rise of Islam. In AD 610, Prophet Muhammad received his first revelation and began preaching monotheism in the Arabian Peninsula. Initially, his message was met with resistance from the pagan tribes of Mecca. However, over time he gained followers, and in AD 622, he and his followers migrated to Medina in what is known as the Hijra, marking the beginning of the Islamic calendar. The early Islamic conquests. After Muhammad's death in AD 632, his successors, the caliphs, led military campaigns that rapidly expanded Islamic influence. Within a century, Islam had spread across the Arabian Peninsula and into vast regions of the Middle East, Levant, Persia, North Africa, and parts of Europe. They were known for swift cavalry attacks and effective military strategies. The Umayyad Caliphate, from 661 to 750, extended Islamic rule into Spain, Al-Andalus, and Central Asia, while the Abbasid Caliphate, from 750 to 1258, was a period of cultural, scientific, and economic flourishing. The locusts emerging from the bottomless pit are interpreted by many historicist scholars as representing the Arab Muslim armies that spread Islam through the Middle East, North Africa, and parts of Europe. Locusts in the Bible are often associated with destruction and invasion, as seen in Joel 1:4. The speed and devastation of the early Islamic conquests mirror the destructive swarms of locusts. The Arab armies were known for their rapid cavalry movements, which overwhelmed the Byzantine and Sassanid empires. The 5 months of torment, according to the day-year principle of prophetic interpretation, is 5 prophetic months. This equals 150 days, which represents 150 literal years. Many historicists suggest that this period began around AD 612, when Muhammad began to publicly preach, or AD 629, when the early Islamic military campaigns began, and ended around AD 762. This period saw the rapid expansion and consolidation of the Islamic Empire under the Rashidun and Umayyad Caliphates. The additional symbolism of "not harm the grass or trees" that was given to the locusts can be understood as a reflection of the military strategy of the early Muslim armies. They were often instructed not to harm civilians, crops, or non-combatants. The emphasis was on spreading the message of Islam, often offering a choice of conversion, tribute through the jizya tax, or battle. The appearance of locusts, depicted as crowns of gold, symbolizes the wealth and authority of the Arab caliphs and warriors, many of whom wore turbans or helmets. The faces like men and hair like women describes the appearance of Arab warriors known for their bearded faces and long hair. The teeth like lions symbolizes the ferocity of the Arab armies in battle, while the breastplates of iron refers to the armor worn by the soldiers, indicating their military strength. The sound of their wings, like chariots, reflects the speed and might of their cavalry, which was a key factor in the success of their conquests. Sixth trumpet, the Ottoman Empire, Revelation 9:13-21. Then the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar which is before God, saying to the sixth angel who had the trumpet, "Release the four angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates." So the four angels who had been prepared for the hour and day and month and year were released to kill a third of mankind. Revelation 9:13-15. What does the symbolism mean? Four angels bound at the Euphrates. Many historicist scholars, including Uriah Smith, interpret these four angels as symbolic of four key regions or military powers associated with the Ottoman Empire. The Euphrates River historically represents the boundaries of the Middle East and particularly the seat of the Ottoman Empire, which arose in the region near the Euphrates. The four angels could represent the four major sultanates or regions that formed the backbone of the Ottoman military force: hour, day, month, and year. The specific mention of an hour, day, month, and year is interpreted through the prophetic day-year principle. This phrase represents a precise period of 391 years and 15 days, which many believe signifies the duration of the Ottoman conquests or dominance. Revelation 9:13-15. Release of the angels. The release of these angels symbolizes the unleashing of the Ottoman Turks, who expanded their empire and carried out campaigns that weakened Christian Europe, especially the Byzantine Empire. A detailed explanation of this prophecy is already explained in earlier articles and videos. Links to those videos are found in the description section. How did this prophecy happen historically? The Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Turks rose to power in the 13th and 14th centuries, beginning as a small beylik or principality in Anatolia. Under leaders such as Osman I and Sultan Mehmed II, the Ottoman Empire became a formidable force. The fall of Constantinople in 1453. One of the most significant events in the rise of the Ottomans was the capture of Constantinople in 1453 by Sultan Mehmed II, marking the final destruction of the Byzantine Empire. This event sent shockwaves through Christendom, as Constantinople had been a bastion of Christian civilization for over 1,000 years. Conquest of Christian territories. The Ottomans expanded further into Europe, conquering parts of Greece, the Balkans, and Hungary. The use of advanced military technology, particularly cannons and gunpowder, gave them an edge over their enemies. They also expanded into southeastern Europe, Western Asia, and North Africa. At the peak of their influence, they controlled key trade routes and were a dominant political power until the 17th century. Now let's explain the time prophecy, the 391 years and 15 days. When does this prophetic time start? According to historicist interpretation, this time period begins around July 27, 1449, when the Byzantine Emperor John VIII Palaiologos sought permission from the Ottoman Sultan to assume the throne, symbolizing the increasing dominance of the Ottomans over Christian Europe. When does it end? When the prophetic period of 391 years and 15 days is added to July 27, 1449, it brings us to August 11, 1840, the date when the Ottoman Empire, under pressure from European powers, including Britain, Austria, Prussia, and Russia, accepted a European ultimatum, effectively ceding control of its foreign affairs. This marked the beginning of the decline of Ottoman power and sovereignty, which eventually culminated in the dissolution of the empire after World War I. What does the 200 million horsemen mean? It is a symbolism of the army. The vast army described in Revelation, numbering 200 million, is seen as symbolic rather than literal. The number represents the overwhelming power and size of the Ottoman military forces, particularly their cavalry, which was instrumental in their conquests. Revelation 9:16 through 19. What does the fire, smoke, and brimstone mean? These elements issuing from the mouths of the horses are symbolic of the use of gunpowder weapons, such as muskets and cannons, which the Ottomans employed with great effectiveness in their military campaigns. Their destruction of a third of men continues from that seen above with the barbarian invasion of the Roman Empire, which controlled about a third of the global population. The Muslims devastated the remnants of the Roman Empire, including the Byzantine Empire, which was part of the Roman Empire. In conclusion, the 7 trumpets of Revelation represent a sequence of historical judgments and transformative events that had a profound impact on the Roman Empire and the world. The interpretation of the 7 trumpets in Revelation 8 through 9, as symbolizing the rise and spread of Islam, offers a fascinating lens through which to view the interplay between prophecy and history. These trumpets are deeply intertwined with the fall of the Roman Empire due to barbarian invasions and the rise of the Islamic and Ottoman empires, which reshaped the religious and political landscape of Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa. The accuracy of these predictions shows the validity of the Bible and confirms its divine nature, as only God can foresee events hundreds of years ahead. These interpretations link specific historical events with the symbolic language of Revelation, suggesting a divine foretelling of significant developments affecting the Christian world. It encourages readers to consider the broader themes of prophecy, history, and their implications for faith and understanding. Recap of key events. The first 4 trumpets represent the fall of the Western Roman Empire through invasions by the Visigoths, the Vandals, and the Huns, and the final collapse in AD 476. The 5th trumpet symbolizes the rise of Islam and its rapid expansion through the Middle East, North Africa, and parts of Europe. The 6th trumpet depicts the Ottoman Empire's conquest of Christian territories, its dominance over the region for centuries, and its eventual decline starting in 1840. These interpretations emphasize that the prophecies of Revelation can be understood as symbolic representations of major historical events, which were seen as judgments upon the Roman and Byzantine empires for their opposition to God's people. By understanding the symbols and their historical context, readers can gain a deeper appreciation of how these ancient prophecies align with the events that shaped world history.